The guide is pretty straightforward with opening up the items that you would like. But the main one that we're going to be working with is this monster makeup one. And the reason we're working with it is because we want to make sure that we have all the layers in at once. So to get started with this, you can simply go into your content folder, student data files, projects, and project 2. There's a folder here with a lot of items inside of it. What you can do is just select the folder by clicking on the arrow to the left of it where it highlights it. And then if I hit download folder, hopefully that downloads that might actually download all of them there. So, okay, so student data, so that will download all the items here. I go ahead and cancel that. What we could do instead is just one by one click on these guys. So I downloaded a few of them at once. I'm going to hit the show all button. In Google Chrome and in Mozilla Firefox, this should be pretty similar. But after I hit this, I'm going to hit this show in folder. And the reason I do that is just because we're able to see all the items there. So, see here, I'm going to go ahead and delete these items here. And I should have a few objects inside of my folder right here. And then after I have these pulled up, I can drag in the first file, which is the Franken PSD file, and we'll see that there's just a man here that we're going to be working with. And then after I drag that in, what I can do is go ahead and with this file open, drag in these other guys. I might actually just be able to drag all of them in at once. And now you can see I actually have 2 Frankens, so what I'm going to do is delete this layer 1 here. And again, I won't be going through all of this because the instruction manual does a pretty decent job of showing you all these items. But in general, what we're going to be working with is all of the items will be going on top of the main item of Franken. So this Franken guy should go to the very bottom because he's our first object that we're working with. And you can hide some of these other objects if you'd like, and then fiddle around with it too. And the instruction manual does a pretty decent job of changing the canvas size and using the move tool and showing you how to properly pretty much make these guys line up. But essentially what you'll be working with, let's see if we can get the texture, is while you're moving around the head, and again, if some of you are working on it, that's fine too. While you're moving around the head, you can go to Edit and Free Transform, and you're able to kind of make the head fit into this guy's face pretty properly. Something like that will be okay. And then you're just going to hit the check mark. And then let's just say I'm trying to get the bolts on there. Edit, retransform. And this will make these smaller as well. And of course, you just want to line them up with the head best way you can. Now, I'm kind of just going this off by memory here. But following along with the instruction manual will be very helpful as he goes through it bit by bit. And as you can see here, this is what we talked about earlier, how smart filters are non-destructive. So the smart filters are essentially a way that we can make it so that the items that we create are not destroyed or edited too badly when we create them. And if you see here the green skin texture, which is what we put on the guy's face, we want to liquefy it a bit so that the, what's he say here, the smudge tool, so that we can kind of make it more so around the eyes. Because if you notice here, the eyes are kind of obviously still his face. So what we can do is with the green skin texture selected, we can go up to Filter, Liquefy. Let's see here. Oh, I need to select the 2 of them there. And he's using the smudge tool. So with the smudge tool selected, this first one, I can make this size a bit lower. And I'm just going to go ahead, maybe make it a bit smaller as well. Go ahead and try to smudge this up a tiny bit and make it a bit larger. And as you can see, I can kind of make this eyelids a bit closer, pull up the eyelids here. You can kind of fiddle around with it any way you'd like. And if you hit OK, we can see mine looks a little odd, but it's fine as well. His eyes are going to be shaped like that. And of course, following along with the exact size and density will be useful for this portion here. But essentially what we're going to be working with is making sure that the filter is, or excuse me, we're using the liquefy filter to make it look like his actual eyes. Now, I won't be doing each portion of this because I just, more of this is just kind of fiddling around and making sure it's right with the edits free transform option. And that shouldn't be too tough to do. Of course, if you're struggling with that, please let me know. But as you can see here, it's pretty straightforward where to put these items. And of course, he does a good job explaining it in the project manual as well. Now, I'm going to very quickly just put these guys over, and I didn't do every part of this perfectly. So make sure that you're watching the manual as well for this portion. But I do just want to show off that one portion of what happens when we merge the layers, as we talked about a bit earlier. And let's see here. Just gonna put these around here. I get to kind of rush this because I'm the instructor here, but you guys don't get to. So just make sure that you're watching each of these portions and figuring out where these go perfectly. For our purposes here, I'm just gonna leave it like this, just for the interest of time. Mine looks a bit rough, but again, I just wanted to show off what the essentially will be doing with each portion here. And please make sure that you just read through these, as it does a pretty decent job of showing you where they should go. Now, this portion that I wanted to show off as well, this brush portion, whenever we have a new idea, or excuse me, whenever we're using the brush tool, for instance, in the skin portion, what we can do is go ahead, create this new layer at the bottom pane down here. I'm going to drag this to the very top. I'm going to rename this skin because that's what the instructions say. And then we're going to be using the brush tool on the skin. Now, as you can see here, after we select the brush tool, we're able to drag along on the image as we'd like, but we can see that it's only using black to brush, and we don't want to use that. What we would like to use is this color code that's given to us. So the way that you can pick this color to use on your brush is pretty much just copying it. So double click the CDC 969. You can right click and hit copy or just memorize the words. And then inside of this bottom area here with your color picker, you can click on that option for black. And if you see here, there's a portion called hex. Let's see if that did it there. Now, if you could see here, if you put in the number sign, CDC 969, it will bring you to the type of skin that you would like to use. And now what you would also like to do is make it so that the skin isn't entirely just covered with the layer here. So I can increase the size with my brush tool by right clicking. Increase the size pretty well. Maybe decrease the hardness a little bit. Let's maybe make it to 65. Let's see here. And essentially what you'll be doing is going over the skin with your brush tool and making sure that it looks okay as well. And of course I could do it here really quick. So easy. Mine's a bit too hard. And regardless, you're just going to go ahead and try to make his color a bit more green. As you can see here, making sure that you don't hit the bracelets or anything too. So of course, this portion will just take a lot of time because you're fiddling around with the objects. And what I want to show everyone is the second part where you're putting it over to the other portion. So your part 2, which is where you add in the background. If a few of you are getting to that part already, that's great. But for this portion here, let's just say that I went ahead and painted this. I'm going to go into my DM140 student data files, and I have this option for backdrop.psd. I'm going to grab that PSD file. I'm going to go to File and Open. Inside of my downloads, I see my backdrop PSD right here. And if I hit Open on that one, we'll see that I have an area I can put my Frankenstein monster. Now, of course, some of you might have seen this earlier as Lynn asked a question on this too. But again, if I wanted to push this monster over to the other area, how do I go ahead and do that? Well, I can drag it one by one, but as you know, it's all different. So what you need to do is select the top layer or the bottom layer if you'd like. And while holding Shift, just click on the bottommost layer and that will select all the layers at once for you. So again, if you select the bottom layer, you hold Shift and then you click the top layer and that will highlight every single layer for you. You could do this to mass delete layers, to mass duplicate, or to merge layers, which is what we're doing here. So what happens when we merge our layers? Remember, what merging layers does is combine them all into a single layer that we can work with. So now you can see I can hide this guy as I'd like, and when I move him around, he's all just the one monster. I'm going to call this one monster super quickly. And as you can see here, I now have a monster I can view and hide. It's not as good as a monster as I'm expecting from everyone. But again, what I can do now is drag this guy into my other backdrop, and he's inside of there now. And then after that portion, there's another portion with the faces. But again, I just wanted to make sure everyone can go up to here. And the second part with the faces is more so for part 2. But as you can see here, it's pretty interesting to get this guy over to the other area and be able to save him like this. So again, if you do save this as a PSD, you won't be able to unmerge it because the merging is only saved into history. And remember, you can't get back to history if you open up your file again. So what's a good convention maybe is before you merge the layers to file, save as a PSD, and then maybe you could say something like Franken before merge. And then after you merge the layers like we did here, you can save it as a PSD again. Daisy. And then after you drag him in there, you can go rename him Franken after merge or whatever you'd like, just maybe regular Franken. You don't need to do this because remember, this is up to you guys. You don't need to keep a copy of your unmerged areas, but let's just say for your capstone or if you're ever doing Photopea on the side for some project, remember that you can't unmerge a layer if you open it up again in a different file. So make sure that you're happy with everything before you merge it. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of kicking yourself down the road. You didn't save a copy. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Again, my Frankenstein doesn't look too good, but for tonight, you should be able to get to this portion here where you have created your monster using the free transform elements and uploaded him into your other background.